think we are recording. Awesome. Okay, so good evening, everyone, and welcome to our awesome webinar series. Blissfully Balanced is what we call it. Today we are going to be talking, or this evening, we are going to be talking about why diets fail. So I'm super excited. So I'm going to run through like the normal stuff, like about me. Most of you attend the webinars, know who I am, Dr. Douglas. I am a naturopathic medical doctor in East Pennsylvania. Our practice is called Infinite Wellness, and I see patients of all ages, but I specialize in women's health, and I'm all about empowering women to reclaim their health. So on to our special guest host, Erin Arvella, super excited. So you can read all of that, but I just want to take a minute to shout her out. So Erin and I met through yoga, Moksha Yoga Square One, and we met, I don't even know how many years it is now, but we have, our relationship just keeps getting better and better, like wine. And so I'm super excited to have her. She's a certified holistic nutritionist. And so different than your conventional, typical nutritionist when you think of it. So she is going to just be dropping all kinds of gems and bombs with us. She is, what can I say, phenomenal, full of so much knowledge, expertise. And I mean, she's all about helping people live healthy, happy, vibrant lives, which is totally in line with me empowering women to live their best, happiest, and healthiest lives. So I mean, I'm not going to talk anymore. This is what it is. Why diets fail. Here it is. Erin Arvella, holistic nutritionist, yoga teacher. Take it away, Erin.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited. I'm just going to bear with me for a second while I get this second screen going. All right, I think we are ready to rock and roll. There we go. All right, so thank you so much for the introduction, Dr. D. I'm so happy to be here. Let's get right into it. I'm going to expand a little bit on my background. So let's start with that. I grew up most of my life and currently reside in Mississauga, Ontario. It's about 20 minutes outside of Toronto. And I had a basic childhood, I mean, not really, but that's for a different webinar, right? But basic childhood, two hardworking parents, middle class, just trying to make ends meet, raised mostly on meat and potatoes, on pasta. You know, there were some TV dinners in there that I'm ashamed to mention. But it doesn't really matter. As children, we have to eat what's on our plate. Otherwise, there's a standoff and, you know, you might go to bed hungry, or maybe that was just my childhood. But
nope, not at all.
Sadly, this is where a lot of our education and our relationship with food begins, with our parents. And that's not to blame them at all. They are just trying to do the best that they can with the knowledge that they got growing up. But unless you come from a family of naturopathic doctors and holistic nutritionists, we're basically just perpetuating those unhealthy patterns and behaviors. So I think it was maybe like in grade 2 or something when in school we went through, you know, I'm in Canada, so we had the Canadian food pyramid. I remember being given a copy of that, putting it on my fridge at home and trying to eat all my servings of, you know, milk and cheese and fruits and veggies every day. But as far as that goes, that's all the education I remember about food, nutrition, and health in the school system. I don't know, does that kind of sound right? Is that what you experienced as well?
I mean, I don't even remember that, so you're definitely further ahead. But I do know my niece did last year have like a project where they learned all about it. So I'm almost certain it's there. Maybe I just blocked it out of my memory for whatever reason. But yes, they are teaching it. I just don't recall it my personal self. So yes.
Yeah, yeah. So let's fast forward here. I'm 18 years old. I move out of the house. And all I know is that pasta and sandwiches and now takeout, because hey, takeout is convenient, it is cheap, it's easy, I don't have to cook, plan, prep, clean anything. And that is how I live most of my 20s. It was not abnormal for me to hit the drive-through and grab a bagel and tea in the morning for breakfast, go out for lunch with coworkers, and then after a long day at a job that I hate, decide that I want to treat myself and go unwind and have a few drinks and a nice dinner with friends or on a date or something. So even today, it's hard for me when I get really busy with work or I'm traveling a lot. It's really hard for me to not slip back into those patterns. It's just now I have all this knowledge inside of me, and I can pause and take a moment and ask myself, okay, Erin, this food that you're about to put in you, is this going to harm you or heal you? Mm. And so nutritionists like myself, naturopathic doctors like yourself, we love to quote Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, and he said, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. And he said this some 2,500 years ago. Like, this is not new knowledge. I was looking him up on Wikipedia today, and it said he passed away in 370 BCE. So this knowledge has been there forever. I was actually laughing. I saw a meme on Instagram the other day that was talking about how backwards we are now as a society when we need clinical studies to tell us that eating vegetables is good for our health, right? Like, we just have things so backwards. It's so sad, but it's true. So let's fast forward a little further. 2010, I was involved in a devastating car accident. I was bedridden for about a month, lost a lot of weight in that first month, but then the trauma and the after effects of that accident set in, and I found myself in a real deep depression, something that I kind of struggled with childhood, but now it was really bad. And what did I do? I did what a lot of us do. I turned to food to stuff my feelings down, to try and make myself feel better. I went from a relatively healthy, because what I thought was healthy based on what I learned growing up, gym goer 3-4 times a week, to completely immobile, McDonald's #1 customer overnight. And I actually gained 100 pounds in that first year post car accident. And then it was a few months after that, so let's say 14, 15 months, that I ended up in my first yoga class. And that was the turning point for me. That's what got me to start my health journey. So yoga helped to pull me out of that deep, dark depression. It didn't cure it, but it got me functioning again, and basically got me to wake up and realize what I was doing to my body, where I was in my life, and that I wanted to change. So I was so inspired that I traveled to Nicaragua, did this intensive 30-day yoga teacher training. And it was at that training that I met this beautiful soul, this beautiful woman who is near and dear to me still today. And she was the holistic nutritionist. And I had never heard of this before. I didn't even know it was a job. But I was just so interested in it that 6 months after I came home from training, I enrolled in school in the Institute of Holistic Nutrition and started that journey. And that journey is ultimately what's bringing me to you, to your viewers today. So once again, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. The power of yoga, because I will say the same. That's how I got started on this journey too. So it's interesting. I'm going to just stop interrupting. Continue, girl.
All right. So before we begin, I thought I would lay out a little agenda for us. So before we can go anywhere, we need to get that missing piece of the puzzle that we all lacked in our childhood that I was talking about. We need to understand food and how it's digested. Once we have some understanding on that, then we can start to talk about different diets, why some work, why some don't, why the effects tend to be short term. And then lastly, it's not only important to get educated on the fundamentals, but I also want to help set you up for success. So we're going to discuss some practical, sustainable things you can start doing today to improve your health. All right, so where do we start with all of this? I love this picture. I took it at Indigo Chapters last year. I don't know if you can read it, but that's just the nutrition section. It is not the dieting or the cookbook section. Those are bigger, badder sections in their own right. But the point here is that it can be really overwhelming to know where to start when you do finally raise your hand and say, hey, I want to be healthier. I want to learn how to eat better. We all use technology. You wouldn't be here on this webinar if you didn't. We're constantly bombarded with mixed messages on health and nutrition. 1 minute, coffee, wine, and chocolate are good for us. The next minute, they're out. We follow celebrities online and hear about these extreme diets that they go on to lose weight for a role. Or, you know, we scroll through our feeds on Instagram and we see these influencers advertising detox teas or like something that's going to make your belly flat in a week. And it drives me insane because it's all garbage. So, you know, you didn't suddenly wake up with type 2 diabetes, which we're now starting to refer to as a lifestyle disease. Type 2 diabetes, it takes like a decade of poor diet and lifestyle to get there. So as the holistic nutritionist, holistic nutrition, which we also refer to sometimes as functional medicine, teaches us that everybody, each one of us are different and individual. What works for one of my clients may not work for the other. So let's say I have 2 clients come to me, 2 women, same age, same height, same weight. They're both 20 pounds overweight. They both want to lose that, and that's why they're coming to see me. As a holistic nutritionist, of course I'm interested in what you're eating, and I'll take a look at your diet diary with you and discuss it and evaluate it, educate you, provide you with a meal plan, but I'm more so interested in other areas and aspects of your life. You know, talk to me about your work. Do you sit all day? Do you work in a factory where you're exposed to toxins? Are you in school? Are you a student? Are you married, single? Do you live with family, alone? Did you get sick a lot as a kid, or are you one of those people that, you know, catches every little thing that goes around even now? And so when we start to ask some of those questions and dive deeper, we start to realize that none of us have the same life, right? We're all coming from different backgrounds. So coming back to my example of the women that are the same age, height, weight, all of that, let's say client A, she's single, she loves her job, you know, has a great life, but she likes to indulge. She likes her sweets. She likes to go out with friends to the bar. Whereas client B is a mother of 3, fights with her husband all the time over money, works a job that she hates because she has a boss that micromanages her every move. She tries to eat healthy, but she's really not eating that much. And me as the practitioner, I can't tell if that's stress related or if maybe money is just that tight and she's sacrificing food to put food on her kid's plate. Right? The protocols I'm going to give each of these women are going to be really different. They're going to be really individualized to what's going on with them, even though they're coming to me presenting with the same the same profile, right? Same age, weight, height, and goal. The main takeaway here is that health and nutrition can be really overwhelming. But that's why we're doing this webinar, right? I'm gonna break it down for you. I like to keep things simple. If any of these books on the screen are worth their value, they're gonna start by telling you that food affects mood, okay? Food affects mood. What is amazing about living in this time, especially with all these technological advances that we have, is that we are constantly learning and sharing information. I used the term functional medicine just a couple minutes ago. So I want to break that down for our viewers. So Dr. D is a naturopathic doctor, myself as a holistic nutritionist. We live and breathe functional medicine, which again, as per the example I just shared with you, recognizes that every individual is different. We are looking at thinking and linking symptoms together so that we can address and understand the root cause of any dis-ease in the body, any disease or illness. Whereas in the Western model, the allopathic system of your doctors, hospitals, specialists, all of that good stuff, their model's more about naming and blaming diseases and then prescribing you a pill for your ill. And don't get me wrong, Western medicine has done a lot of great things for us, but I believe that there's a time and a place for them. And, you know, maybe they shouldn't always be our first go-to. So what we now know, and what the allopathic world is finally recognizing and picking up on, which is so exciting, is that we have this brain-gut connection. So again, food affects our mood. It's now generally accepted that almost 90% of our serotonin is made right in our gut. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter. It's that feel-good hormone. It's closely linked with mental health issues, depression, anxiety, even bowel function. So IBS, IBD, things of that nature. So what it's saying is that if our gut, our microbiome, which is the entire universe of trillions of cells, thousands of bacteria, viruses, fungi that live right within our bellies, if that isn't functioning properly, it's going to have a cascading effect on the rest of our health. It's going to affect your immune system, how your body responds to infection. It's going to affect your central nervous system, control our brain function, our breathing, digestion, heart rate, blood pressure. An unhealthy microbiome is going to affect weight gain, weight loss, blood sugar levels, cholesterol, and other disorders. So everything really starts in the gut with our digestion. We've all heard this saying, you are what you eat. Well, we're not just what we eat. We are also what we digest, absorb, assimilate, and eliminate. So hopefully we all understand digestion and elimination, right? Food coming in that we break down, food going out through bowel movements. The piece that is often overlooked and not talked about enough is absorption and assimilation. Absorption happens in our small intestines. It's when we start moving the end products of digestion, so the food that we're breaking down, into the bloodstream and around the body. Assimilation is the process in which we take those absorbed micronutrients from our food, so the vitamins and minerals, all the good stuff in our food, and shuttle them into our cells of our body. And that's when we start to move and use them for things like growth and repair. So from there, now that we kind of understand that, now we can start talking about what a healthy digestive system looks like. This here is a slide that I use with all of my clients. And again, you don't worry whether you can read all the small print, but it gives you a basic breakdown of our digestive process, all the organs involved. What's important here that I want to spike out, if you can see my cursor, is digestion starts in our mouth. Okay, let me ask you, have you ever chewed a piece of bread or a cracker for a really long time and noticed that it starts to taste sweet at all? Dr. D? If not, I'm giving it to you all as homework.
So I think maybe what happens is I know I can often chew in a rush. And so when we were talking about this the other day, I actually had to like take a minute and chew thoroughly today. And yes, it's right. You're absolutely right. It does start to get sweet. But I think a lot of people, especially in our busy go, go, go society, we are in a rush. So we don't chew our food to the point where it's super tiny and it starts to taste like sugar. So yes. My bad. I couldn't do it myself.
Yeah, so that's what's happening. We actually have enzymes in our saliva that have the ability to start breaking down carbohydrates right in our mouth. And carbs is this umbrella term that often gets villainized in the media. Everyone tries to avoid them because carbs equal sugar. But in that example, that's where that sweet taste is coming from, because it's breaking all of that down. So again, take it away as a homework piece if you want to give it a try. But since we're talking about carbs, this is actually kind of a great point to talk about the other macronutrients. So macro being big or large, and the large macronutrients are our carbs, our protein, and our fats. So carbs are what give us quick energy. They're broken down into simple sugars, starches, non-starches, fiber, and we do want some form of complex carb in our diet. I mean, the etymology of the word itself, carbohydrate, means to hydrate. So we don't want to move these things completely from our diet, but rather understand the different kinds, so simple carbs versus complex carbs, and encourage a healthy balance in our diets on our plates. Protein are the building blocks for our heart, our brain, our skin, our muscles, internal organs. They're really there for growth and maintenance. So this becomes a concern with those of us who follow a vegan or vegetarian diet if it's not done properly. Okay, I am all for the ethical treatments and saving animals. If you follow my Instagram, every Monday I do a Meatless Monday hashtag post where I'm encouraging everyone to, reduce animal products. But ethics and personal feelings aside, some of us just do not thrive on a vegan diet. So this is where I encourage my clients to explore, to try different things, to see what works for them. What kind of diet does your body respond to best? Mm-hmm. Coming back to that idea that we're all individual. There is no one size fits all approach. Fats and oil also play a role in our energy stores, similar to carbs. But more importantly, fats and oils are what helps transport nutrients around the body. So this is why the keto diet is all the rage right now. The goal of keto is to change the way your body naturally runs. So a keto diet forces your body to start burning fats as fuel rather than glucose or carbs for energy. And there's actually a lot of therapeutic, medically supportive use cases out there for a ketogenic diet. Again, if it is done properly, when it comes to disease and illness like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, blood sugar level. It's been shown to be really beneficial, but most notably what it's, claim to fame is for is it was studied as far back in the 1920s in pediatric epilepsy. So the keto diet's been around for almost like a century. It's nothing new. It was shown to greatly reduce the severity and frequency of seizures in epileptic patients. But more recently, the health and wellness industry, social media world has grabbed a hold of it as a quick fix to lose weight. It's the idea that you have to eat and consume fat to lose fat. Again, a lot of people are doing it wrong. This is not a free pass for you to eat fried foods and bacon all day, right? We're looking at healthy fats. So high quality extra virgin olive oils, raw, unsalted, unroasted nuts and seeds. And of course, avocados are in there and things of that nature. So in a healthy digestive process, everything's working optimally. We are chewing our food. The enzymes and digestive juices in our gut and our stomach, things like hydrochloric acid, are working to break down those macronutrients. And the micronutrients from that are getting shuttled in and around the body for use. Problem is that this isn't really what's happening in most of our bellies. Our digestive systems are being compromised by things like not chewing enough, low enzymes, low stomach acid production. And what causes these things? Well, stress, poor diets, prescription medications, antacids, chlorinated water, coffee, caffeine, nicotine, a lot of these things that we are all very familiar with, right? So what are signs of poor digestion? How do you even know if your digestion's off? Well, take a look at the screen, at this list. Tell me if any of these sound familiar. Indigestion, bloating, gas, diarrhea, constipation, recurring yeast infections or UTIs, cold sores, canker sores, PMS symptoms, headaches, migraines, bad breath, BO, greasy, smelly stool, heartburn, that feeling tired all the time or getting that lull at like 2, 3 p.m. in the day, brain fog, poor memory, slow growing hair and nails, skin issues. You can go into the pharmacy and find a pill, find a quick fix to mask any of these symptoms. Laxatives for constipation, Imodium for diarrhea, acetaminophen or ibuprofen for general aches and pains, PMS, headaches, migraines, topical creams for any skin issues, any dermatitis. But do you want a short-term Band-Aid? Or do you want to work towards healing the body, addressing the root cause of these issues? Because that's what Dr. D and my goals are when we're working with you, when we're working with our patients and our clients. And this is why I say majority of diets fail. Diets are designed to be that quick fix. They are not designed to be sustainable. Sustainability involves an education and a shift in our perspective, in our patterns, in our behaviors, in what we know and understand about food, our relationship with food, actually anything in life, and most importantly, in our routines and our daily habits. I love this quote. I can't remember who I stole it from, but we can only live at our highest level of knowledge. Let me repeat that. We can only live at our highest level of knowledge. So when I was 20, I really didn't know any better than pasta and sandwiches and meat and potatoes. Now I do. And I said it before, now, today, I make a conscious decision to consume, to eat something that I know will either heal me or harm me. And that is what becomes the catalyst for change in your life. If you're even going to accept the challenge that is, right? There's levels to this. It's like an onion with all these layers. There's the education piece, which we're getting a bit of today, right? But then there's also that acceptance and that awareness that, hey, I may not be as healthy as I think I am. So you gotta dig deep within yourself. What is your health worth to you? What does health even mean to you? What does it look like? What does it feel like in you? And do you want to change? Are you willing to put in some hard work to reprogram these old habits, old bad habits that we all have, so that you can live a healthy, happy, vibrant, and energized life that we all so very much deserve? Because let's face it, seeing a naturopathic doctor, seeing a holistic nutritionist is not cheap. And I'm sure Dr. D can back me up here when I say I am not in the business of taking people's money to keep a roof over my head. I am here to work in partnership with my clients, to educate them, to coach them, to offer them support, be their #1 cheerleader, and offer them tools so that they can be successful and feel empowered on their journey to healthy living and that of their families.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? Healthy living doesn't mean that you're never gonna be able to enjoy a donut ever again. I know that that's your guilty pleasure, Dr. D.
That is absolutely my guilty pleasure. I drive past an amazing donut place every single day on the way to work, home from work, on the way to the gym, home from the gym. But it's willpower, and it's like you said, it's knowing that the food choices have consequences. So yes, I can eat the donut and be very happy in the moment, but I know 20 minutes when I'm bloated and tired and can't think straight, it wasn't really worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that.
Yeah, so being healthy, all this journey really means is that we are choosing health more than not. So I'm a strong believer in the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of the time, I expect myself, I ask my clients to be their healthiest, bestest, baddest selves out there. And then 20% of the time, cut yourself some slack. Life happens. We want to enjoy it. We don't want to be riddled with guilt or feeling like we can't enjoy that birthday cake or holiday party. Everything in moderation.
Mm-hmm.
The word diet itself tends to invoke this feeling of restriction, of deprivation, of unattainable goals for the most of us, right? No one's getting excited about cutting carbs out of their diet for 30 days.
Yes, I think I have a couple clients on this call or watching the video that agree that they kind of hate me for that. But yes, I do it for short periods of times because some people truly need it. We need to reset. But I'm all about balance, moderation, 80-20. But some people, I got a yes. And I get it. Listen, I've done sugar detoxes, all of that, water detoxes, water cleanse. And it's tough when you go from eating a donut for breakfast, a bagel for lunch, pancakes for dinner, and then you go to, you want me to just eat kale for 3 days? It is challenging. And that's when your mind is like, just eat the donut, just eat the cracker, just have the glass of wine. No, I'm totally with you. But some people, we have to do a quick reset, myself included. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's so true. Quick resets, retraining our taste buds. Of course, if there's any medical reasons, if you're celiac, of course, you're cutting gluten out of your diet. But for the rest of us, we tend to use diet as punishment, right? So that's kind of what I'm referring to here. And when we do that, it causes a lot of stress in our body, both physically and mentally. We're always putting that diet off into the future. I'm going to start it Monday. I'm going to, next week, because we don't want to do it. And physiologically, this has repercussions to our health. It's deeply tied to our success or failure when it comes to dieting. So let me get my next slide going here. So we've talked a bit about digestion, signs of poor digestion. Now I want to switch gears and talk a little bit about the central nervous system, because what goes on here on the daily is closely related to the effects of our diet and this notion of dieting. So we have the central nervous system that is divided into two parts. Our sympathetic nervous system is the gas, parasympathetic is the brake. You may have heard this sympathetic nervous system referred to as our fight or flight response. It's that quick rush of adrenaline that we get when we are running away from that proverbial tiger, right? We've all heard the example of way back in the caveman days, we had to run away from animals that wanted to eat us, or we had to chase animals so we could eat, right? It's this fast injection of adrenaline, which is a hormone, that triggers our defense mechanism, our protection, our survival. It causes our heart rate to increase, our breathing to increase, dilates our pupils, makes us jittery, nervous, we sweat. But most importantly, what I want you to understand here is that it shuts everything down, specifically our digestion. And it directs all of our energy to our arms and our legs so that we can literally run away from that tiger. Now, thankfully, at least here in North America, we are not running away from any animals that are trying to kill us and eat us.
Thank goodness.
But we do get these adrenaline rushes in other ways. Anything that we perceive to be a threat, a stress, or even excitement, right? Like adrenaline junkies that are going bungee jumping, skydiving, stuff like that. But the key word here is perceive. So what is stressful or a threat to me may not be a stress or threat to you. So let's talk about that a little bit more. What are some of the typical stresses that we have today in our lives since we don't have animals chasing us? Well, hey, how many of us work at a job that we hate? Because it pays the bill, right? It pays the bills.
Right.
Because
no, I'm not laughing. I don't hate my job. I love my job. Sorry, I'm not laughing.
Yeah, no.
I love my job. I love every one of my clients at Infinite Wellness.
But before we got to this place in our lives, we were working those jobs that we hate, right?
Correct.
Because we need to put food on the table, a roof over our heads. Work and money are two of the biggest stressors that we have in our lives. Additionally, we are in unhappy, unfulfilling, unhealthy relationships, whether that's with ourselves, interpersonally, intimate relationships, family, who doesn't have that one coworker that they just can't stand when they get into work, right? On top of this, we have our phones, and we have this sense of time and urgency. We are connected 24/7. We never take a break. Maybe you're a student, you're in school, you're going for a job interview. What happens here is that as intelligent as our bodies are, they can't differentiate between the stress of that tiger chasing us and the stress of running late, being stuck in traffic, hitting every red light on the way to yoga class. And this first stage of stress, this burst of adrenaline, is intelligently designed as a defense mechanism, and it was only meant to be used short term. So hunt your food or be hunted. But what happens is that we have all these little, I don't want to say little, but all these little stresses pinging us throughout our day. And we find ourselves moving into the second state of stress, which is chronic stress. And this is where we start to get into trouble. We start releasing and circulating excess amounts of cortisol hormone through the body. And cortisol's job is to slow our metabolism down to survive a famine when we're talking about this caveman days, right? Our ancestors were not eating 3 square meals a day. Some of us in North America don't even have that privilege, right? So what happens here is our metabolism starts to slow down. We start holding on to everything in our body and our cells. Our clothes get tighter, and then we decide we need to go on a diet. Dieting usually means restriction, calorie counting, portion control, and all this does to our body is confirms the stress that it's perceiving, the threat that it's perceiving to be true, which is that there's a shortage of food and we don't know when we're going to eat again. And so it slows the metabolism down even further, and it can make it that much harder to lose any weight. So once again, we see how that dieting in this day of age, with the amount of stress that we have in our lives, can actually be really counterintuitive. And so again, my purpose is to encourage my clients to move away from this notion of dieting as a form of punishment, right? Like growing up, my mom just teeter-tottered on Weight Watchers like my entire childhood. I really want to work towards educating and helping my clients make healthier choices, looking to food as medicine and helping them find a healthy balance so that they can achieve their goals, right? The second part of the nervous system is where we want to be. That's the parasympathetic nervous system, and it's known as, get this, the rest and digest parts of our nervous system. When we are in sympathetic and parasympathetic, our body feels safe. It's our relaxation response. It's where we can grow, we can heal, we can repair. And because being in a constant state of stress wears our immune system down. It affects our cardiovascular health, our brain function. It fatigues us. Again, as intelligent as our bodies are, our nervous system works like a pendulum. You can only be in one state or the other. You can be in stress or relaxation. You can't be in both. So if any of you, and I know a lot of you were, if any of you were on Dr. D's webinar last month, she was talking about heart health, and she gave a handout on belly breathing, on diaphragmatic breath. It is the easiest, fastest, cheapest thing that you can do right here, right now to help shift your body, your state into relaxation mode. And I'm going to actually encourage us all to do it together right now. So I'm going to ask that everyone kind of sits up tall. If you're standing, that's okay. Roll your shoulders up to your ears, relax them back and down. And then through the nose, slowly, deeply inhale. Through the mouth, sigh it out. One more, inhale. And exhale. The body instantly starts to relax. It starts to soften. It starts to let go. Mm-hmm. A mere 3 to 5 breaths like that is shown to activate, to switch on relaxation in the body. So practice this every single day. All right. So, tips for healthy living. We just did one right now, and it doesn't cost you a thing. Start your day off right. Before you get out of bed in the morning, take 3 to 5 deep breaths. Especially before you eat. It is the rest and digest system. We want to be in a relaxed state when we're eating our food. So 3 to 5 deep breaths before you put anything in your mouth, including anything that you're drinking. Before you go to bed at night, a lot of us have sleep issues. So take some time to do some deep breathing in bed. Let go of your muscles. Start to relax and soften into your bed, into your pillows. Start to wind down from your day. Don't eat when you're stressed or in a rush, right? Again, deep belly breathing helps to kick in the rest and digest response. Very important for all you mamas out there. I see you. I see you standing at the counter, multitasking. Give yourself permission to take a load off, sit down with your kid, break bread, share a meal together. It's time that we start recognizing that food is fuel, food is medicine. Let it nourish and heal you and your baby, your toddler, your family. Drink more water. This is an entire webinar on its own. Water is life. Our bodies are 60% made of water. It is required for optimal digestion, that absorption and assimilation of nutrients around our body that we talked about earlier. Circulation, regulating body temperature, really key in elimination. So for anyone who's constipated, up your water intake. Most of us are chronically dehydrated as it is, and it's a huge known factor in disease and illness. Not to mention a lot of prescription medication dehydrates us even more, or like dry mouth is a common symptom, right? A common side effect. Water carries nutrients, it carries oxygen into our cells, it lubricates our joints, flushes toxins out of our body. It's so, so, so very important. Eat fiber-rich foods. This is also a very important part of a healthy digestive system. And also healthy elimination. So fiber-rich foods, think of your legumes, your beans, your fruits and vegetables. The darker, the better. So, you know, broccoli, asparagus, dark leafy greens, things like kale, rapini, collard greens, Swiss chard, bok choy, stuff like that. Again, fiber could be an entire webinar on its own. Dr. D, I'm giving you some ideas here.
I'm sitting here writing them all down. Don't you worry, got it.
The fiber is a plant nutrient. It provides support and structure. So in the standard American diet that most of us adhere to, right? One that's highly processed, convenience food, high in sugar, high in, bad fats. We might be getting like 10 grams of fiber in our diet a day. But for optimal health, to prevent things like constipation, diverticulosis, colon cancer, we really need to be aiming for like 25 to 30 grams a day in our diet. So that's a big takeaway there for sure. And the last one that I want to leave you with today is eat real food. Real food is made in nature, not by man. Okay? Real food doesn't come in a box or a can. It doesn't come with a nutrition label, with an ingredients list. The idea that, there's this one aisle in our grocery store that has all the junk food, the idea that junk food is just chips, candy, pop, ice cream, soda it's like a complete oxymoron to me. To me, there is real food, made in nature, and then everything else in the grocery store is junk. And that can be a real hard pill to swallow, especially the fact that we just live such busy lives. And, you know, hey, there's a lot of convenient food in those aisles that make our lives a lot easier. But that's, you know, as a holistic nutritionist, that's how I categorize it. There's real food, and then there's everything else is junk. So you don't need to be a savvy shopper. You don't need to know how to read labels, identify all the 100 different names that sugar goes by. Remember that, you know, blue dye 1 and 2, green 3, red 3, yellow 6 have all been linked to thyroid, adrenal, bladder, kidney, brain cancers. Like, not only are we eating and consuming these things, but we are feeding them to our children. Okay, food dyes are in a lot of items out there, and not just food, they're even in our everyday household items. So things like soaps and shampoos. And yes, the food dyes are in the typical culprits like candy, and puddings and stuff like that, but they're also in some of the things that we tend to associate with being healthy. So yogurt, you know, you have any little ones at home that are playing sports, and you're giving them these colored drinks that have electrolytes in them. You know, they're in deli meats, so like sandwiches, specifically sausages. So like that sausage breakfast bagel that you get at the drive-through, not good for your health. Also in baked goods, pastries, I mean, the list just goes on. So I am a big believer in the KISS model. Keep it simple. I'm going to go with silly. We all know what the real S stands for traditionally. But what I'm going to say here is let Dr. D and myself worry about all the research, all the studies. Let us worry about understanding the effects that all these harmful chemicals, preservatives, additives have on our body, and allow us to educate you. All you need to know, or all that I ask my clients to know, is that you understand that they wreak havoc on your health, on your health and on the health of your family. So keep it simple. Eat real food as often, as much as you can. In a perfect world, the dream would be that we one day shift from this reactive health model where we diagnose and then treat disease, to a more proactive, preventative model in which we're all just living and thriving and preserving our optimal health. You agree with that one?
I do. I mean, I wouldn't have you on the webinar if I didn't agree with your thoughts and your views. So yes, I totally do. Absolutely.
Awesome. So yeah, there's a little picture there. So I really just wanted to thank you, Dr. Douglas, Dr. D, for inviting me on your Blissfully Balanced webinar today. You know that I just love sharing this stuff, so I really appreciate the platform that you've provided here. Deep, deep, deep bows of gratitude to you, to your listeners, to the community you are so amazingly working with and building in the Philly area. We are all so jealous and missing you back home in the sticks. If anyone would like to connect with me online, this is where you can find me. My main platform is Instagram at holistic_living365. I link all of my posts to my Facebook group. So if you're not on Insta, but you're on Facebook, you can find me at Holistic Living 365 with Erin. There's also my website where you can read a little bit more about my journey and about me personally, holisticliving365.com, and my email, contact@holisticliving365.
Cool.
Yeah. And I'm so proud that I came in a little under time so we can tackle some questions or whatever. Should I send the screen back over to you?
I am going to send it right now. I think I have it.
Oh, you can just take it.
Can you tea currently. So
Yeah.
as always, thank you everyone for joining us. I'm going to end the recording here, but please stay online. We do have some questions. So thank you everyone. Dr. D here. You know how to do that.